Alrighty. Let's see if these are working. Alright. YouTube's coming up. I think it needs about 10 seconds. Good. Twitch should be up any moment. Twitch is up. Alright. We're live. Look at us go. How about a chat? How about a chat? Okay, slide that there. Slide that. Okay. All the chats are up. I can see the stream. Let me pull up the calculator so I have that to reference. Alright. So, yesterday, for like the 8th fucking time, we redid how attacking works, but I think we're in a much better spot. I think it's a good idea to have everything use dex because it shouldn't be it encourages cross stat work. So, oh, I have more dex versus I have more strength, so that's pretty good. Incorporating both into melee makes you have to train one or the other more or less, and then having weapons that don't need one as much as the other should be huge. So, I think it's better how we ended up with the melee system. Moving forward, so here's my goal. This next Sunday, I don't think I'm going to stream it, but I'm probably going to do a playtest, and then I'm going to make a video on how the playtest went. So, we got until Sunday to pull that off. So what do we need to do before Sunday? I don't think we're going to have time to implement magic. There's just too much to do in that arena that I have barely got to. I kind of know the overview of what I want to do, but we have way too much math to do. So I think what we should do is we should focus purely on martial for this playtest and get the basic combat rules down. And then I think we're going to focus on feats. I want to get some interesting feat options available for this. We need to build the scenario. The idea is that I'm going to treat this as a out of the box product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a tabletop sim mod, and I'm going to have a scenario ready for them. And then I'm going to have one of them volunteer to DM, and whoever volunteers to DM is basically going to run through some pre-set up scenario that I have for them where they learn the rules together, basically. And then they're gonna play through. I'm probably honestly, I'm probably gonna take a classic adventure, Mines of Pandover. I think that's what it's called. Mines of Pandover. Mines of Phandelver. That's what it is. I might just take something like this and then just convert it to my rule set, just because it'll be easy, and then I can kind of see some interesting similarities or differences depending on how the systems turn out. And then I'm just gonna have them play through that. I don't think I'm gonna build characters for them ahead of time. I kind of want them to experiment with that and see what sticks out to them. But we're gonna do what's called a mute playtest, which is basically I'm gonna sit and call, and I'm going to mute. And I'm going to give them the rulebook and the scenario, and then we're going to watch them play. So they're probably going to fuck up some rules. I'm not going to correct them. They're probably going to not understand some things. I'm going to try to let them figure it out as best they can. And I'm only going to intervene in really bad situations. But more or less, I'm just going to let them go off into the wind. And then we're going to see what makes sense, what doesn't, what worked, what was frustrating, what was a problem, what could be improved on. So it'll be a pretty funny playtest, I think. But in order to get ready for it, we're going to need some feats. Let's make a list on our notepad. Let me, hold on. I gotta open our stream visible one. It's still so funny to me that the unsaved version of the doc is treated as a separate file for the or window for the purposes of OBS. So I had to make them both readable. It's really funny to me. Okay, adding weapon accuracy into the block formula. We might get back to that. I am kind of just thinking about leaving it out of the equation for now because of it'll simplify the math, and then we can come back to it another time. But it probably should be in there in some regard. And then, okay, so we need to build the scenario. We need a starter list of feats. We're going to need to run the math on a variety of combat moments. I haven't actually played through a combat fully, so I kind of think I know how it's going to go, and it's going to be kind of hard to playtest because it relies on hidden information, but we'll see how that operates. I need to implement a TTS mod. Honestly, it could probably just be like a save that I do where I just make some objects and I save it in a scene and then I invite them all to the scene and then do it that way. That'll probably be the easiest. And then we're going to need to do a lot of math. Math out everything. Oh, what content are we adding? How many races? What archetypes? So because we're martial only, or let's work through what I'm thinking about doing for the character creation is that I'm basically thinking about tagging a bunch of feats, or having a list of feats and then giving them tags. So it might be like a stealth tag, or it might be like a rogue tag, or it might be like a sneak attack tag, or like an assassin tag, or like a hunt tag, or there's could be like a wide variety of tags that I could assign things. And then the idea is that at any particular point, or starting off, a player will have access to 1 or 2 tags. So they might pick like adventurer, which gives them like 1 of 4 combat tags, or they might take like knight, which gives them armor tags that they're better at. And so you get some combination of starter tags, and then your race or your starting origin gives you some combination of starting tags. And then with this suite of tags, that's the abilities or feats that you have access to. So it's kind of like a build your own class in a way. But the idea will be is that there's going to be a feat somewhere, some gen feat, that it gets more and more expensive every time you take it, but that allows you to learn new feats. Or to learn new tags, I should say. So like maybe you've been in the campaign as like a rogue who's been like doing sneak attack and assassin stuff for like, oh, I don't know, like till level 9 equivalents. And then one day you're like, or maybe the plot is like building and there's going to be like a war brewing and you're like, fuck, if there's like a war brewing, then I need to be ready. So maybe you take like the tag learner so that you can start getting trained in like armor or in like longswords or in, you know, guns or something like that, because you expect to be on like a real battlefield and not just like in assassin skirmishes where your bread and butter is and a lot of your feats are built around. So you take that and then you're like, okay, cool, now that I can do this, I can start taking those feats and learning that stuff. Or maybe, you know, you'll have maybe you'll have tags where it's like maybe you'll have feats or tags that are like arcane spell casting. So like you start to learn how to cast magic, or you know, psychic awakenings, or I'm trying to think of, there could be a wide array of possible ways to gain these new tags. And then I could specify some tags are super exotic, like, I don't know, void magic, or you know, undead or something like that. It's like, okay, these are way rarer tags, so you need to understand they're either going to cost way more XP, which can get, you know, shortcutted by some plot relevance. If you like the DM field is plot relevant, they could drop the XP cost on it. But I think having some ways to do that, that's my overarching idea for the feat system. And that's where most of the character progression in the game comes from. So, with that in mind, I think that the starting off, I think the goal is just to have a list of feats, and then have some feats that are marked that you have to take, that you can only learn outside of an adventure, and some that you can only learn inside an adventure. So I'm probably gonna have, what I'm probably gonna do is when you get to like when I get to my ideal state, a tag like learning how to cast a spell. Like if there's like a feat that's like learn a new spell, that's probably going to be like a downtime, multi-day, week-long total feat learning time frame. But maybe like a goofy little combat trick you might learn on the spot. Like you might actually just spend the XP to be like, oh shit, now I know how to do this. And you realize that in the middle of combat, and you get that cool narrative like eureka moment that like it's like in it's like in like every like young adult TV show where they're like they encounter something and then like in the middle of combat they're like, wait, we should do this, and then they like learn some new tactic or whatever. It's basically gonna be that idea. So I'll probably starting off tag some feats as unlearnable in combat versus learnable in combat. And then we're going to have tags, but it's only going to be for races and weapons, probably, starting off. At some point, I'm going to build out the world more. I originally started off with this being Gen Fantasy, but I feel like even if people adopt a rule set for Gen Fantasy, I think that I ended up in points where I was like, okay, I probably... there's too many opinions in the rule set. And what I mean by that, because that's not a normal term most people know, is like, if a rule set has an idea where werewolves are a CR 5 enemy and liches are a CR 18 enemy, there is an opinion in the rule set that werewolves are weaker than liches. But if you were to run like, if you were to make a rule set for, I think it's Vampire the Masquerade. I have a friend who likes that game, and he was telling me that in that game, werewolves are much stronger than most vampires. They're like forces of nature. And it's like, okay, well, in that game, a vampire might be CR 20, and a werewolf might be CR 20, and a vampire might be like CR 3 or CR 5, depending on which version of a vampire they are. And it's like, okay, in this rule set, there's an opinion that werewolves are stronger than vampires. And I feel like that also happens a lot in core rules. You know, which weapon is better in which environment is an opinion of the rule set. I could theoretically make a very unrealistic rule set where swords are very good against armor and axes and maces are terrible. But there's an opinion that the rule set has. So anyways, I feel like I implemented too many opinions on how this world operates, that it probably needs some world underneath it to justify what's happening. Opinions on how magic works is a big one that I haven't got to yet, but I have some strong opinions on how I want the magic to work. And then like, I started coming up with fun little like flavoring of feats. So, for example, one of these feats is, let me go to the list, the big long list. One of these I named it Irathian Tact. And it was based on the legend of the Irathian assassin. Irathian Tact is the nickname of any quick surprise strike due to distraction. If you have an attack queued and your opponent, and I stopped fucking writing. Oh, God. It's a nickname of any quick surprise strike due to any distraction. Oh, that's right. So, okay. I don't remember exactly how I was mechanically thinking of making this work. But sorry, the idea was that there was going to be some like quick strike where if you have an attack queued, and your opponent swaps focus. That's what it was going to be. It's if you have an attack queued on an opponent and they swap focus away from you, then you can like interrupt to attack them. That's the idea. So you're like coiled, you're ready, you're waiting to strike. And then I was like, well, what do I name this feat? I could name it like surprise attack. That's kind of bland. And I was like, oh, what if in this world there was like a Trojan horse level like infamous moment where two armies were like okay with each other, and then the moment they turned their attention to something else, they got attacked and they lost a city or something like that. Or maybe they a ruler got assassinated in the middle of a speech because she stopped looking at the person she was arguing with and she turned to look at somebody else, and that person arguing with her fucking slit her throat. Who knows? The point is that I was like, oh, this could be like a fun bit of flavoring. And it's like, well, you can't have a rule set that has an ability called like Irathian Tact and not clarify what the fuck Irathia is or who Irathia is, or anyways, or is Irathia like a philosophy, like, oh, this is like a Greek city state like Myriad, and Irathia is like a philosophical credo for how you should operate politics. Who the fuck knows? Or maybe it was based off of the country of Irathia and it became a thing years later. You know, you could come up with so many different flavors of it. But the point is that I feel like making a little bit of some flavor might be a fun thing to build upon. So maybe instead of just race and weapons, we introduce like cultural feats in some regard. I'm not exactly sure, but and then what else do we need to do? We need to, let's look at these. Oh, we need to make content as gear. We need way more. We need to rework our traits based around our new combat ideas. So redo the weapons and add more. And we need to do the same thing, but we need to add more armor. And then we actually need to add the races, because I probably only want to make a few classics like dwarves or elves or whatever. Dwarves, elves, humans, maybe halflings, maybe an orc. I'm not sure. But I'm probably going to get a few armors and races. And then I don't want to do too many because I don't want to blow the scope out. I only have a week to do all of this. So I have today, and then I have tomorrow off from work. And then I'm probably going to work evenings Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday, Silksong comes out. And I'm going to play the fuck out of that game. And then probably Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, I'm probably going to like refresh everything and like get back in the mood and like, you know, make sure everything's ready to go and double check and do last checks. So basically we have about 4.5 days to work on this. So we probably can't add too many races. We probably can't add too many weapons. I'm probably just going to go for a lot of staples, implement them, and then kind of see how they feel flavorfully on the battlefield. And the balance is going to be dog shit. I can feel already. We're going to have problems with balancing. People will be miffed that they're that they picked something and it didn't work, but we're going to go with it for now. Okay, so we're not implementing magic yet. It's weapons. Is there anything else I need to go over? Maybe some starting archetypes of like, your starting thing is you were a barkeep before this, and so you know how to drink better or something. I don't know. We can play around with it. Right now, it's purely basically a combat sim. I plan on adding way more shit to it later. But we will, we'll see how this goes. Starting kits. Oh, yeah. So originally I had an idea for you would pick a class, and the class would just be a starting package, and then the starting package would have a subclass based on which stat was your preferred choice. So like your strength focused combatant would be like a slayer, or your dex focused combatant would be like a rogue, and then you would get abilities for that particular thing. But I've changed these so much, I don't know how much these are actually gonna be useful. So we'll get to that later. Okay. All right. I think that's our list. Where do we start? Scenario should come last. Because we need to set up more rules, and they're gonna change how the scenario runs. So the scenario should be some of the last stuff we do because we're just building content on top of the pre-established rules. The scenario might, if we did it early, it might inform us to the types of rules that we should focus. Like if the scenario has a swimming section or something, then we could do that. But I might just cut things I don't have prepped like that out of the scenario and modify it a bit, and then let them keep playing. Armor, races, weapons. Let's do... So races are mostly going to be... let's go through each of these. Races are basically going to be some health differences. So different starting / max stats, although they're never hitting max stats in this. So I might just say starting stats, not even worry about what max stats they have. And then like a small list of feats, like maybe 1 to 3. And I don't even know what I might do is I might have a list of, I think the standard, which I've been playing around with, is 1 feat that isn't unique but is defaulted, and then 2 possible unique feats. And what I mean by that is, like, let's imagine that there's like a feat that lets you like interact with magic better. So you don't have to cast magic per se, but like you understand it conceptually better. That might be like an elven feat that all elves get inherently, but they don't like, it's not unique to elves. Other people could take this feat. It's like a universal feat or like an arcane only feat, but elves get access to it, and they might get access to the arcane tag or something similar. I kind of honestly like the idea. I've been playing around with it in my head of elves having Fae focus stuff. And then, okay, hold on. Let me do quick little minor world building. So the game is called the 6th Realm because I'm petty, and it's supposed to be better than 5th edition. And so I just did 1 higher than the number, and then was like, well, 6 what? And I just wrote 6th Realm starting off. And then I was like, oh, what if there was like 6 realms in like the world that I build, and that could be kind of fun. And so I came up with basically we have like each realm is like a dimension, essentially, and they comprise up this universe. So there is the mortal realm, which is the realm of beasts, partially because I think it'd be sick if it's like named the realm of beasts. And then I had the idea that humans are, because most people always want to know how humans are inserted into a world, and I kind of like the idea that humans are native to the realm of beasts. Like they're like the alien race in Tron. Like the guy showed up into the VR world and they were already there, and he has no idea where the fuck they came from. They're like naturally emerging from this realm of beasts. I kind of like that idea. So like maybe like the gods came down into the mortal realm to see what the fuck was up, and when they showed up, the humans were already there instead of the humans being like created by gods. I think that'd be a really sick, fun flavor. Then there's going to be a divine realm, and that's where the gods and the demons live. It's all your spiritual, like your gods, your demons. I kind of think I want to make the gods like Greek-esque or like Roman, very like flawed characters that are interconflicted, for making them divine. I like the idea of having a arcane realm, which is basically a dimension that's like in between worlds. So it's not like it is its own location, but it like exists as like a layer of reality that you can access. So that's why arcane magic is basically always useful everywhere, is because it's like in abundance, basically. Like it's like a literally like a layer on top of all the other layers. And then I like the idea of having a time layer, specifically like a mechanized time layer. So it's the classic like a infinite clock, or some like there's like robots that manage it or something, but having some like some dial or times piece that runs the universe. Um, and then another fun bit about this is that we could basically do the tech versus magic bit, where they're like polar opposite dimensions essentially, and so like a merging of these two, where like an inventor will combine like make like magical artifacts, is like a really difficult thing to do. So that way we can make magical artifacts really sick and really cool, so that they're literally like worlds apart from everything else. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. There was there's a Fey realm. It's like a wilderness, a big magic wilderness full of crazy like esoteric cursed hex rules. And then finally, I thought about having just a void. there's just like a nightmare void realm. Like demons are in the divine realm, so it's just like a literal like aliens, the eldritch, just the worst, most unexplainable nonsense is down there. And so the idea was that basically all of these, except for the tech one, could be sources of magic. So the mortal realm, the realm of beasts, is where like sorcerers come from. They're like genetic abnormalities where these things will rise out of. Divine realm is your holy and unholy magic. So your warlocks and your priests would all basically be in a same vein. Then you have your arcane realm, which is your like your wizard. Your time mech realm, it doesn't have magic. And then your fey realm is like your druids and your druids, and there's another one there. I don't remember what the other class was. There was going to be another idea other than druids. I thought about having barbarians pull some source of magic from there, but basically that'd be that. And then your void could be like your cultists. These are like they're really tapping into the unknown here. This isn't like the demons always lie to you. This is like, we're accessing an unknown layer. I thought it'd be kind of fun to make it an explicit rule that every campaign should have their own void realm. Like, give them like 5 or 6 options of what kind of void exists, but the idea is that like it's such an unknown that every time you access it, it's an entirely different world. And then the key thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that I like the idea that each of these realms has a point of contact with each other realm. So maybe the mortal realm has like a very, very large forest that eventually, if you walk through it enough or find the right sequence of moves through the Lost Woods, you'll eventually get into the Fey realm. Or there's like a peak holy mountain that if you ascend to it, you get like the stairs into heaven. Or because the arcane realm is like a layer, if you open the right portal, you can walk into the arcane realm. And then for the void, I like the idea of it starting underground, that somewhere there's some large cistern or some pit, and that the like their underground layer, like what you would like in D&D, you'd have like the Underdark, basically like the under layer of the world is basically like the bridge between these, and essentially having a lot of bridge locations that flavor your world. So the large forest is the bridge between the Fey and the mortal, or the divine might have like a Fey heaven where like it's like a Valhalla of like a massive wood that your warriors can go to or whatever, or like your earth worshippers can go to. And then like the void is like in the back of hell, but all the demons don't want to go over there because it's kind of scary, and like the demons that do go over there are even more terrifying. And so having like these bridges that connect these worlds as like big centerpiece flavor bits. And then I think it'd be really sick if the time mech realm doesn't have a direct way to access it other than okay, this is super esoteric, but I think it'd be really cool if it like the bridge to the time mech realm was way more abstract, and the only way to get there was to go to the beginning or end of the universe. Like if you went to the beginning of time or the end of time, that's where the bridge is. It's not like a standard location that you access it at. There's some nexus and like some point in timeline where you can actually access it. and from there, life is created. So maybe you have to go back to the beginning of time or to the end of time or something like that. At some point, it will be available to you. Most of this is not relevant for this playtest. I just think that that's kind of my idea for the overworld. And so, like, elves, I think, could just exist in the woods that bridge to the Fae. And so that's why they're, like, these woodland kind of creatures. Maybe they even came from the Fae, like, long ago, and they've come to the mortal realm, and that's, like, their new home, basically. Maybe there's some reason they're not allowed in the mortal realm anymore, and they're very angry about it. Or maybe there's some elves that stayed in the mortal realm, and there was some war or some split. Who knows? But that's kind of the idea. And then, so I think that would be fun. And then I think, like, having a mech realm, I think it'd be sick if, like, metals and, like, irons and, like, kind of these aren't, like, natural substances, but they, like, came from the time mech realm, and they got, like, imported or, like, placed around the universe. And so the dwarves, like, respect this type of work, and so they go into the mountains to find these sources from other worlds. That's where you get, like, your really strong metals that aren't normally found. And so maybe, like, some mountain zone or some, I don't know, something like that is, like, closer to where the origin could take place. Maybe to be a specific location at a specific point in time or something like that. But yeah, that's basically the idea. So I think it'd be fun to have races flavored that way. And then you could have races that are truly from the beast realm, like your humans and your if you have, like, a dragon creature, or, like, a dragon born, or a lizard person, or, I don't know, bird person, fill in the blank. Okay. So, I think that's what I'm going to do for the races starting off. 1 feat that they get access to by default, and then 2 unique feats that they could choose from. I don't know if they're going to be exclusive, where, like, if you take one, you can't take the other, or if you just get access to 2 and then you could take both if you wanted to, and they're, like, different versions of the same elf, but they're not, like, sub races. You can just pick one. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, but and then armor. We need to make armor. I think the best way to do this, let's do a rescan of our action systems, make sure they make sense, and then we're going to, we'll go from there. Because if those look good, then we're going to start implementing, we'll redo the weapon traits, get those working, start implementing all the weapons that we want to do, and then do feats to build on those weapons. Figure out what should be default for the weapon, no matter who uses it, and what should be trained and learned of how to operate said weapon. And then I think in the consequence of this, I think we're gonna have to figure out how the stamina math works, because I haven't quite figured out what a range of expected stamina should look like. So that's gonna have to happen. And then I did have an idea for something called adrenaline, which is basically a stamina that's given to something who's getting hurt or about to get hurt or, like, close to death. So basically, if you, like, narrowly dodge an attack or something like that, you generate this stamina resource, which is like a wild card, as a way to help out somebody who's in a dire straits in combat. Kind of like a comeback mechanic, but not quite. A little bit like a rebalancing of the table kind of idea. But okay, with that out of the way, let's look through this. Find. So this is supposed to be like you find somebody who's hiding. You focus on any location. Cost is 1 concentration. You check as an opposed perception stealth roll. Trait is hidden. Um, if the roll succeeds, actually, let's do it this way. So the issue right now I have with find is that find is supposed to be like, I think somebody's over there and I'm trying to see them. And so you're supposed to put your focus on a tile somewhere on the map, and then you're going to roll to find it. But I don't want it to be so pinpoint that it's only on that tile. I want it to be the tile is like better, and then like the further out you get, the harder it gets. So I think the way I'm going to word it is, if the roll is 1, we do an opposed perception stealth roll. Take the difference between the location of the declared target how would I say this? Here's how we say this. State the object of your perception or your state the object of your observation. That's way too wordy. Basically, state what you're looking for. State what you are looking for. Then roll. Take the difference between the location of the stated object and the location of the focus. If the perception roll is greater than or equal to the stealth roll plus the distance, you reveal the subject, something like that. So essentially, if you're directly spot on exactly where you're supposed to be looking for the thing, and you say the thing you're looking for and it's right there, and you roll at all better than it, then you see it. And then if it's the further away, then you take more penalties. The subject must be within line of sight to be found, and gets a plus and gets to roll, gets plus, how did I word this yesterday? I was trying to change the wording a bit. +1 tier, that's what it was. +1 tier to the roll if they are in cover. Did I write maybe instead of must be? Must be within line of sight. Maybe. Subject maybe within line of sight. Okay, and then gauge. So it costs one battery? That doesn't make sense. Focus. Combatant has already acted this phase. No, I think, okay, so there's 3 staminas. There's a physical, a social, and a mental stamina. In combat, the idea is that you would have a physical and a mental stamina, and that you can use social, but it's mostly there as like a indicator of morale. And then the idea was that abilities or actions would make you burn specifically physical or mental, and rarely social. And then you can always burn stamina at a 2-to-1 ratio for another stamina. So if you have to burn concentration, which is the mental one, and you don't have any, then you could burn 2 battery or 2 stamina. um, to overcome this. But that means that, but I'm trying to figure out if battery should be what you're rolling here. You're gauging somebody, so you're staring at somebody, you're trying to figure out what they're doing. I feel like you would roll concentration for that. Okay, and then it has to be something where it's already acted this phase. It's a quick action, so that makes sense. It has to be during the quick phase. So basically, you're looking. Somebody has locked in their action for the full phase, and you're have more perceptive of them in this round, and so you're going to try to understand what it is they're doing ahead of time. So you do a check against the enemy's guile. Guile is the deception skill, so that makes sense. That checks out. Because if you're trying to obfuscate what it is you're doing, then yeah, you would roll guile. Combat has already acted this phase. Check is a DC on the insight. Trait is hidden. So one thing that I haven't done yet that I might do is I might start adding traits of whether these are physical, social, or mental skills, because I think I'm going to have feats that care about when you're doing one of these types. So find is a mental. Is it mental or is it physical? It is a mental action because you're not physically doing the... I mean, you are looking around. What do I have? Let me look at my stats again real quick. I have perception as a physical thing, comprehension as mental, and insight as social. So obviously gauge is social. That's an easy. I don't even have to think about that. Same as predict. Recall is mental. Find might be physical, actually. Because you're just looking for them. Yeah, this is physical. I don't know why I'm thinking this through. Social, mental. Reload is obviously physical. Reposition is physical. You're moving. Shout is physical. Taunt is social. And use is physical. Do I have any other ones in here? No, that's it. Okay. Alright, let's keep going. So gauge says you spend 1 concentration. You roll a hidden social check against the enemy's guile. The character is told the action group of the action the enemy has locked in. That's right. So it doesn't actually tell you the exact action. It only tells you the group. So in this case, this would be like block. This should be a colon. I chose to do a block action, or I chose to do an attack action, or I chose to do a move. And then I was thinking about having some actions have none, and none is just the generic, you don't know what the fuck this is. I might add one that's like combat trick, or maybe trick or something like that. But for now, I think it's okay. I think this is fine. Do I have a feat in here about gauging the exact action? No? Okay. When you gauge, if you if the result is double the If the result is double the opposed value, you know the exact action. Something like that. The character is told the action group, the action is locked in. I should make a note here. This is not available, or this is only revealed to you. So you don't get to tell everybody else. You understand what is happening. Okay, and then this is predict. I think one concentration should be fine. So my idea is zero stamina effects are like just universal. You don't have to do much to do this. It's pretty quick, pretty easy. And then one stamina things are like, this is worthy of spending stamina on, but it shouldn't be like a big deal. 2 is like, this is a really important thing that you should spend stamina on. And then 3 is like you are exerting yourself to do this. So I'm thinking the range for an average stamina should be in the like 10 to 12. But it's also, and I haven't fully decided how I'm doing this yet, I'm thinking about adding an action that's called like breathe or like reset, where you burn some maximum stamina to refill the bar, and then you regain the max stamina on rest. So that's what sleep actually does. Sleep resets your max. So over time, you'll get more and more and more tired because you're losing more and more and more max stamina, basically. And so it might be like 8 or 10, and then you're just resetting the max stamina to reset that mana value. Or because if you only have to lose 1 max every time you rest, then your stamina is actually the triangle number of like 9 or 10, which is a lot. Because I'm pretty sure triangular numbers is equal to n times n plus 1 divided by 2. So if it was 11 times 10 divided by 2 is you have 55 stamina. if you have 10 stamina, you would actually have 55 stamina, which is a massive size. So it might need to be reduced. I don't exactly know. Or I just make everything more expensive. Because technically, I was thinking about this. The easiest way to do this is that you just double whatever your stat is in the thing. So if you have a D4, you would get 8. Or if you have like a D6, you'd get 12. And you just double it. But if I do that, I'm just going to make everything way more expensive. What is the triangular of 4? If I did, let's see, 5 times 4 is 20, divided by 2 be 10. That's a bit low. And then if you did, you could also do, maybe I just have like, I have these tiers of stats. Let me see, where are they? In miscellaneous? Like, oh, it's a D1, then a D2, then a D3, D4. Maybe it's the number doubled. So a D4 would be 10. A D6 would be, but that could be way too crazy. That's a lot of stamina very quickly. Because I'm thinking D4 is the human average. That's what I'm thinking right now. D4 is your 10 value. It might go down to D3, honestly. Make D3. But I kind of want to make the base stat an actual normal die value instead of doing a halve. So I'm thinking about maybe doing it as D2. And that way it gives room for like your really stupid characters to like D2 or D3 intelligence, or 1 and you're just a drooling dipshit. Because those are always fun to play. Focus, a combatant who's already active this phase, cost 1 concentration. Your DC is the enemy's guile insight check. So this should actually just be an opposed check. I don't think you need to specify roll every time. I can just say this. Opposed, because we know it's a check. Opposed insight guile. It's a hidden social check. The character's told the action group. This all looks perfectly good to me. Predict. Being able to read your opponent is crucial and can be the difference between life and death. Sometimes one strike is all it takes. You focus on a combatant that's already acted this phase. Your cost is 1 battery. Your check is the same check. The actor's told one action in the combatant's chosen action group that they did not lock in. Wait, why did I make this? This is just better than Gauge, always, because if you're told the action that they're not taking, then you know the action group. Why the fuck did I do this? Okay, we're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna just paste this into the Gauge description. I put the colon on the end for some reason. Good job. I just realized that description is with a CS instead of an SC. And then we'll just make this a feat. Go down to the list. If the result is double, you know the exact. I'd rather have that, honestly. And then if that's too strong, then we can replace with something else. Recall. Knowing where to strike is as important as when. After all, knowledge is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle? I don't know why I did that. And you focus on an enemy that you spend 1 concentration. Your check is your enemy's comprehension. Why am I doing this DC nonsense? It's just an opposed versus their combat rating? No. We're gonna do a comprehension versus a rarity. No, that doesn't make sense either. Okay. If you were recalling something about a monster, like a werewolf, then sure. We have some stat in the bestiary that's like, how well known is this monster? And then you go there and you check against that number and you roll comprehension. Sure. The issue is that this also is supposed to apply to any combatant. If I walk up to a knight, I should do. This doesn't make sense. No, wait, hold on. I remember this. I remember. I was going to split this action in half. That's right. Okay, hold on. Let me see. What was the effect of this? The actor requests a piece of information about the enemy, such as a stat, where they can inquire about whether the enemy has a particular feat or trained in a particular skill. That's right. So what I was going to do instead, and I am quite proud of this one, is there is a stat in here that is intuition, which is mental flexibility. And so my idea is that instead of basically when you're typically doing a recall knowledge check, which is what's called Pathfinder, I don't remember what's called in D&D, where you're sitting there and you're like, what do vampires do again? Or like, do I know something about the combatant I'm about to fight? That I can split it, because sometimes it feels like you're just sitting there going like, DM, please give me information that I wouldn't really know. And then the DM has to sit there and go, okay, would you know this? Would you not know this? Maybe you would. So instead, what we can do is we can say, we'll have a recall, and the recall is actual recall. If you know a topic or a subject, then you can recall that thing. If you have like lore curse or lore lycanthropy, then you can sit there and go, oh, I know it's a werewolf. But then, if you're in combat with like a fucking knight that you've never seen before, and he's some trained mercenary, you can roll an intuition roll to guess at whether or not that are they trained in this stance? Do they have access to this thing? What's going on with this ability? What kind of, do I expect them to, they have 2 weapons on their hip. Which one do I expect them to be more trained in? Like, this is kind of the idea here. And so, I think we're going to make a new action here called Intuit. And then it's going to be focused on anything. And you're going to spend a concentration. This might actually should be worth 2. Because you're basically, like, let's imagine you spec for intuition. If you're specking for intuition, then your thought is, I should be able to, if you're specking for intuition, then the idea is that you're just kind of have like an osmosis knowledge. And so I feel like I should make you spend more to do that regardless. But then also, if you spec around it, then you could have moments where you're like, oh, I know, or like, oh, I can intuit that he has or does not have this one combat feat. Okay, I know I can pull this dumb little fucking combat trick on him later in combat. So being able to intuit in general is always going to be strong, and then being able to do that, I feel like should be even stronger. And then I think, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I feel like there should be tags that are advanced in some way, or have like levels to them of like how easy or like their rarity. And I feel like the rarer the tag that you're intuiting, the more the difficult the DC will be. But I haven't fully worked out how that's going to be yet. So it's going to be check. It's going to be an opposed intuition versus, how did I spell this wrong? I did spell this wrong. Intuition versus subject rarity. that's all I got. Versus tag rarity, we'll say. The character is this is a hidden mental. Actually, I might want to lead with since this is going to be a tag on all of them, I might always lead with what type of this is. Physical hidden, social hidden. This should not be mental hidden. Will be physical. This one will be physical. That way your eyes have to move less when you're reading it, and you'll always know immediately. Because if there's like if there's an action at some point that has like 7 fucking tags, this one should always be at the beginning. Thank you, alarm, for not being relevant today. Okay. Put that over there. Physical manipulate. Okay. It should probably just be you are shown. Okay, and then we're going to intuit, and the character. I think wording these as you is probably better. state where you are looking for, then roll. Take the difference between the location of the stated object and the location of the focus. If the perception roll is greater than or equal to the stealth roll plus the distance revealed the subject must be within line of sight to be found. That's +1 tier to the roll if they are in cover. You are shown the action to group the enemy is locked in. Note this only revealed to you. You are, what would it be? How would we word this? You are shown, God, my throat is fucking dead today. Bum bum bum. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. Do. Yeah, my voice is cracking on the low notes today. Oh man. Do. Okay. You. How are I gonna word this? You are told. Oh, actually, let's start this way. Request or state a feat or stat value. State a feat or the level of a stat that you expect. State a feat. Aspect or the level of a stat that you expect the subject to have. Roll the check. If the difference, the opposed party or opposed subject adds if your roll is greater than or equal to the total rarity of all the tags on the subject. You are told whether they have the feat, have the aspect, or if the level of the stat is greater, less than, or equal to your declared value. As with notes, as with all other hidden rolls, the opposite is told, or the opposite is told if you fail. Oh, this should be told instead of shown, so that you can't lie about it. Because if you had to show it, then you'd have to like erase it again and rewrite it if it was correct, and that would be a whole fucking waste of time. You are told a lie. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We'll fill in descriptions later. Recall. Knowing where to strike is just as important as win. After all, knowing is half the battle. Focus on an enemy. Cost 1 concentration. Check is an opposed comprehension versus enemy Rarity. Trait is mental and hidden. The actor requests a piece of information about the enemy, such as a stat, or they can inquire about whether the enemy has a particular feat or train in a particular skill. The rarity, let's reword this. You state, or no, this should just be state because it's a declaration. State a piece of information about the enemy, such as a stat, or whether the enemy has a particular feat or is trained in a particular skill. Roll the check. Add any additional tag rarities to the check for more explicit information, more specific information, like a feat or skill. So this idea is basically like, let's imagine that everybody knows that werewolves are vulnerable to silver. It's like, cool, we all know that. But then maybe like there's an additional weakness, which is like this one herb that grows in this one region, and that requires like an additional +2 or +3 to the check, basically. So you might say, I want to roll for werewolf weaknesses, and then you roll, and you're like, okay, well, you didn't get enough to know the other side of this equation. And then I need to put somewhere in here. You must have a knowledge of the requested information. Yeah, the requested race feeder skills. So if you don't know arcane magic, could you gauge whether somebody who isn't obviously using arcane magic is trained in arcane magic? And I feel like the answer would be no. Maybe I make feats that let you pick up on whether they do. But I think default, like, if could you tell if I don't know if I let them choose skill. Maybe it's just feat. Stat or feat. You must have knowledge of the requested race, feat, and /skill. Reload. Some weapons require a specific amount of. I don't even know if I'm implementing ranged weapons yet, so we're gonna leave this one alone for now. And then if a ranged weapon happens to be, we're gonna mark this yellow. Actually, let's do orange is our. We don't know if this is implemented yet. Orange unimplemented. That should be. How do you spell implemented? Implemented. I spelled it correct. Okay. I don't know why that looks wrong to me. Reposition. It is not enough to be capable. You must present in every required encounter, lest you lose the challenges that don't place themselves at your feet. Focus. Any. Cost is 1 stamina. You do a check speed with inferiority. So inferiority is a that's you're rolling half your stat. So if you have a D8, you'd now roll a D4. And then it's a physical trait, it's a move, and you move up to the result in tiles. I don't feel like I want to call out that it's specifically inferiority. Because if you're already taking a penalty to your movement, then it should be more penalized here. So maybe I just say a -2 tier. Speed check. And then maybe we just have ways to plus or minus your tiers, and then that's like a common mechanic. I think that's probably going to be what I do. Trait, physical move up to the resultant tiles. Shout. Sometimes the only thing turning a fight is good coordination, a single bit of dialogue, and that's 1 stamina to reposition. I kind of want to reward more movement, so I think that's okay. Taunt. In the history of the human race, come at me, bitch, is always work to get someone or something's attention. Focus is an enemy combatant. This is a cringy fucking line. Holy. Oh wait, I just completely skipped over shout. Okay, sometimes the only thing turning a fight is a good coordination is good. Focus is any, cost is 1 battery. Check is a DC confidence test. Is there a test to this? So first off, this should definitely be... Is this one of the ones that actually deserves to be battery? Would it make sense to, as you're yelling, to coordinate, spend morale? I mean... kind of? Like... you spend the morale... Yeah, I guess kind of. Uh... It makes... A concentration doesn't make much sense either. Maybe the... Okay, maybe we remove the confidence test part of this. Here's what we do. We remove the confidence test. We'll make it 1 concentration per enemy engaged in melee. Engaged with you. That's what we say. So if you're surrounded by like 6 people, you gotta burn a lot of fucking concentration to do all that and communicate with them. But if you're like an officer staying on the sidelines, or if you're like only fighting 1 dude, then you just have to slightly turn your head and communicate, as opposed to, yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's a better way to do that. Physical and auditory. The actor says, you say max wit words equal to all receptive. Oh no, you just roll. That's what it is. I just make the check wit, and that's what you roll, and that's how many words you can communicate. Do I make it that? Because if you roll 1, 1 would be a fucking meme, huh? You say a single word. Run! Run, you fools. Okay. I kind of, you know what? This is the playtest to experiment with wacky shit. I'm down for it. I also like the idea of using, was it brackets? Yeah, I like the idea of doing brackets to represent the dice value. You say roll words to all you say wit words to all receptive can hear / engage with you party members. That needs to get implemented. To all party members that can hear you. Let's just do all for now, and then if I implement like deafened effects or like something else, then I can do that. I noticed when I was doing this. Oh, that's unimplemented yet, so I don't care. Okay. You say what words, you move up to the result in tiles. You can say up to wit words to all party members. Taunt. Focus on an enemy combatant. Costs 1 battery. Why make this have a cost? I mean, it's an action that manipulates focus. It should probably have a cost. Actually, we'll do it this way. Instead of it costing a battery, we'll do a check for an opposed confidence cool. If they do not focus on, or if the enemy is not focused on you by the end of this action, lose 1 battery. So basically, if you either fail the check or they don't look at you, then you're like, there's a morale loss of like, fuck, they're not listening. No, I need you to taunt. I need to taunt you. I need you to pay attention to me. Do I let them spend concentration? I feel like I should, because taunting is incredibly fucking strong. And so I kind of feel like making you spend concentration, or letting you spend concentration to bypass this, I feel like is probably okay. Ooh, do I make the party members who want to hear you have to focus on you? That would be mean. I feel that's already bad enough that I don't let them speak in combat without shouting. I don't think I should do that. But it would be kind of awesome to have moments where like the enemy team is trying to communicate and they like turn their head for a second to listen and you fucking shank them or something like that. Like that could be some cinema, okay? That could be really funny. Use you interact with an item or object on the focus space. In the focus space works. If focusing on yourself, I think self works. Just making self capitalized. If focusing self, you can use items in your hands or on your belt. Note if the item activation would require a check, like rolling strength to pull a heavy lever, it must be done as a full action. does not require a skill check. Okay. And then I think I'm going to do an action called breathe. Or to say focus is self. Cost is cost is we'll say 1 max stamina or 1 max energy. Trait probably would it be, it's kind of physical, it's kind of mental. I'll say none. State, physical, social, or mental. No, wait, state stamina, we'll just do it directly. State stamina, battery, or concentration. Lose 1. Max energy. So I haven't fully worked out what happens when you run out of stamina, or energy, I should say, because energy is the generic term I'm using. I think if you run out of stamina, at least I had the idea of you like gasping for air. So I kind of like the idea of letting you be actually out of breath. Like you are out of stamina, you're fucking gasping for air, you are like hyperventilating. It's fucked up. If you are if you're using social, or if you're out of social energy, then you probably just can't. That's actually might be where I enable the deafen effect. You just can't hear anybody. You're just like, you're zoned the fuck out. You're in your own world. You're not engaging with anybody or anything. Yeah, I think that's what I'm actually. I might make it that. So we go back to shout. So all, I'm gonna make a receptive keyword, and then we're gonna go to add a character creation. We're gonna go to rules. We're gonna add a sub tab. Put it up here. We're gonna call this keywords. Keywords, receptive. A character is receptive if they can hear or otherwise socially engage with with you. Receptive is always checked, is always established when checked. Receptive a character is assumed to be receptive by default. I want this actually, hold on, let me change this. I want this to be 1. I want this to be, no, I wanted this to, hold on. Can I change the ordering type? Oh, what? I want to do this one. Yeah, I like this one better. Okay. Trap. Trap actions cannot be revealed or cannot be flipped proactively. Cannot be flipped unless by normal means. We'll say that. A trap action can be flipped when its trigger is occurs. Actually, let's word it this way. If a combatant has locked in a trap action, they must pass. That basically does the same thing. Can only be flipped when its triggered occurs. Where was I? We were at unit mods. No. We had done use. What the fuck was I working on? Oh, receptive. We were on receptive because we were writing breathe. That's right. We were writing breathe, and then we realized that it should be receptive. I'm gonna bold keywords. What was the other way to edit trap? We'll get to that later. Let's add focus real quick. I know that one's gonna come up a lot. Focus is a token that is placed on the map to represent a character's subject of focus, sector of interest, we'll say, so I don't reuse the word. Focus is focus is the center point of a character's field of view. Yeah, I was trying to figure out if I allow people to look at things such that their field, like if they like look to the side and so their field of view isn't fully lined up with the focus. But A, that means I'd have to introduce facing anyways, and that's a bitch, and fuck that. And 2, if you're like, if you do this test real quick, if you look at something to the direct left of you, I feel like your field of view is basically cut anyways. Because like if you move your other, if you like put your left hand up and put it like right in the corner of your vision, and then you look over at it and you focus on it, and then you move your right hand over. By the time you see your right hand, if you re-look back to the center, it's way more in focus. So it's like your peripheral is determined by what you're looking at, even if you were turning your head or turning your eyes to look at something specific. So I think it's basically fine. In fact, it would have to be even more complicated because if you're looking at something that's not in your direct center, then you would see less than 180 because like your eyeball is like not able to fully see to the exact left of your face, and now you're ignoring your right peripheral, so you're like you're even more zoned in basically. Focus is taken as a token that is placed on the map to represent a character's subject of interest. Focus is the center point of a character's field of view. We'll do a quick little thing. Field of view is a 180 degree vision cone representing a character's, oh no, is the center of point of a character's peripheral is what I should word this as. And then peripheral is, then I'm gonna put this here because I'm keeping these alphabetically for ease of search. Field of view is a 180 degree vision cone representing a character's field of view. Actually, let's just do it this way. Yeah, peripheral. So 180 represents the character's field of view. There we go. Characters cannot see events, characters, objects, etc. that are outside of said peripheral. Okay, back to breathe. Lose 1 max energy of the relevant type. Oh, I need to specify what energy is. Energy. Energy is a resource that a player has. Energy is a type of resource the player has access to. The characters. Energy is the generic type, or energy has 3 subtypes. Stamina, battery, and concentration. Energy is stamina is consumed using physical actions. Battery is consumed using social actions. No, hold on, that's not exactly true. You can concentrate on something and then it's a social action. And you could have hybrid costs, or like you spend stamina and you spend concentration. What else do I want to specify? When a combatant, or when a character is told to spend one type or spend energy, they reduce their pool of that energy by that amount. Energy has 3 4 active values. 4 values at any one time. So actually, we'll say each type of energy. Each type of energy has values at any one. Let's put this over here, actually. Each type of energy has 4 values at any one time. Minimum energy, minimum, maximum, total, and current. Minimum energy represents the lowest value. God, why is it that I keep getting these fucking bots? I'm not buying views. Leave me alone. Minimum energy represents the lowest value of a lowest value that. Actually, let's start with current. Current energy represents how much energy is able to be spent at any one particular time. Minimum energy represents the lowest value that current energy can be dropped to. Maximum energy, or let's do total first, actually. Total energy is the maximum, is the highest amount of energy, or how would I word this? Is the starting energy for a character. Maximum energy. Maybe I need to make a new word between total and maximum. So total is supposed to be like, if your stat says that if you get double whatever the max stat is, if you're like a D4, it'd be 8. That's your total energy. Maximum energy is your like maximum of the pool. So if you like breathe and so you burn maximum energy, it's not like you're not going to go back up to 8 when you sleep. It's that you're going to go down to 7, and that's your new maximum energy. But maximum resets the total when you sleep. I think I need a new word for this. Fuck me. Minimum, current, maximum should be total. I should word this way. Maximum energy is the starting energy of a character, dependent on equal to tilde, which is going to be yet to be added. So maximum, and then this needs to be we'll say maybe instead of having another type, maybe what I say instead is that maybe I make, instead of reducing a number, maybe instead I just word it as there is a debuff that you gain, and the debuff lowers how much current energy reduces how much current energy can be in your pool. And so that way it's not a separate number that has to be tracked in your head, it's just a conceptual debuff. And I think that actually is probably better. Let's do it this way. 3 values at one time: minimum, maximum, and current. Maximum energy is the starting energy for a character, equal to blank. Current energy represents how much energy is able to be spent at any one time. Current energy can never be higher than your maximum energy or lower than your minimum energy. Then it's relevant. Can it be higher or lower than it's relevant? Minimum or maximum. Okay, minimum response glucose. Oh, and I think we put that in front of current. There we go. And then we'll go back to quick actions. And we'll say breathe, and it'll say cost is 1 max energy. And instead of this, we'll say cost is none. State, stamina, battery, concentration. Add 1 fatigue to of the relevant type. Add 1 fatigue to the stated type. Set your current energy of the stated type to its maximum. And then we'll go to keywords, and we'll add a new keyword called fatigue. Fatigue is a debuff that reduces the amount of energy that can be that your current energy fatigue represents how much energy is able to be spent at any one time. Current energy can never be lower or higher than its relevant maximum minimum. Fatigue is a debuff that reduces the amount of current energy or amount of energy that your current energy can be by its value. The maximum amount of energy that your current energy can be set to. Reduces the maximum amount of your current energy. By its value. Okay. I think that's how we do this. Ooh. I might reword this later. I was trying to figure out how to naturally implement undead into this rule set without having to do like a ton of crazy work. And one of the ideas I had was that the undead interact with stamina differently. Obviously, they'd have to interact damage differently because they're undead. But I thought it'd be really interesting that like they feel alien and odd and like actually dead because they don't operate in the same fashion. And I feel like it'd be really interesting if I added something that looks like, oh, they can't breathe. Like, oh, as a zombie, you can't breathe, so you can't regain stamina equal to your new maximum. You just fatigue or do something else, and there's like some other fatigue system, or maybe it's like I don't know, you reduce your fatigue by double whenever you try to breathe or something like that. I don't know what it'd be, but there could be really interesting if there's like a system built around how undead handle energy differently. um yeah, I don't know yet. That could be a good meme. Um, oh, wait, I totally forgot. In here, I need to write that energy, when a character will spend energy, they reduce their pool of they reduce their current energy of that type by the amount. Any character may spend another, when a character is requested to spend an energy, when a character is spending energy, they spending a type of energy, they may spend other energy, may spend any / all of that energy at a 2-to-1 ratio from another type, with another type. Okay. And then we're just gonna go down here, we're just gonna write stamina. A physical form of energy. That's it. There's gonna be so much bolding if I do this, but I think it'll be worth it. I should probably not bold this one. Debuff is a negative status effect applied to a character or object. Should probably not bold characters. Character is a keyword, or it's going to be a keyword, but I really don't want to bold. Maybe I don't bold them in the index here, but I bold them in the other stuff. I don't know. We'll see. We need to write a new thing about characters. A character is a as a sentient. They're not exactly always sentient. Like hollowed armor would be a character. Is an object or sentient object, sentient, or unsentient, insentient. Or insentient creature capable of making making decisions, or would be committing actions. Or completing actions, we'll say. We'll say sentient or insentient. I don't think there's going to be objects that are characters. I think I want to make that a distinction. Okay. I just want to make sure that the energy rule had the 2-to-1 ratio thing in there, so I don't have to think about that later. And then in here, I don't have to bold these. Breathe, I think, is correct. I think that is how I want to do that. Oh. You know, maybe I do make it just a triangular number of your maximum value, and then maybe that's all I do, because like if it's a 4, you get 10, which isn't great, but maybe I make humans like default concentration like 6. So it seems like concentration is a pretty consistent thing I'm doing, where if you're doing like something mental that you're really locking in on, that you're doing concentration. And then battery seems to be like a morale or a spirit, or like a, it seems less like battery is ever going to be spent, or more so battery is going to be removed. Where like you're never spending battery to work in a coal mine, but you will lose battery while working in a coal mine because you're not having fun, maybe, unless you are having fun, I guess. But, or if you're having an argument, you are gonna make your whoever you're fighting with lose battery because they're not gonna want to fucking talk to anybody, or at least talk to you. But you're not spending battery to do something. Because battery is like a social stamina, your ability to be present socially. So yeah, I kind of want to make battery almost like always like a non-active energy source. And then, yeah, maybe just give concentration a bigger number, a bigger default number for humans. Maybe default human concentration is like D6. Because triangular of 6 is what would it be? 7 times 6, 42 divided by 2 is 21. God, is the jump between triangle 4 and triangle 6 11? And then what's 8? 8 times 9, 72 divided by 2 is 36. Oh, man. Okay, I can't be triangular numbers. That gets... Or unless I up all the costs, because that gets so fucking high so fucking quickly. It's gonna have to be something else. Okay. Either way, I might make humans have more concentration, because it feels like mechanically concentration is kind of important as a stat. And I like the idea of a battery being spent passively as like I don't want to do this, so I'll spin the battery to kind of indicate that I don't have the I don't really want to do this. Or like if you've been studying really a lot, or you've had like somebody irritating the fuck out of you, you've burnt a lot of battery, and so then you get into a conversation with somebody else, and you're like, I don't have the energy for this. It's actually would be the bit. And then maybe some races like passively spend concentration, and like, well, they kind of don't know how you would do that with the rule set. Or maybe they can substitute on a 1-to-1 battery for concentration or something like that for like a super charismatic race. Oh, maybe that's what halflings get. Wait, that could be such a fun. Because halflings are always supposed to be like the fucking happy-go-lucky Mr. Frodo. That could actually be such a fun bit. It's like, oh yeah, you can burn battery for battery for concentration in a 1-to-1. Oh my god, I'm writing that down. Okay, that's actually such a fun idea. Halflings. Our first racial feat, halfling, can spend battery for concentration at a 1-to-1 ratio. That's fun. I really like that. Fuck, I like that. Okay. So then we have use, I think we got everything for quick actions. We have a way to reset stamina, which I think is good. And I also like the fact that it's not a full action. Although I thought about specifying if you're a punishment or if you run out of energy. Maybe I specify that in here. Energy is a type of resource that characters have access to. Energy has 3 subtypes: stamina, battery, and concentration. Each type of energy has 3 values at any one time: maximum, minimum, and current. Maximum energy is starting energy for a character equal to whatever it ends up being. Minimum energy represents the lowest value that current energy can be dropped to. Oh, maybe zombies and stuff can go negative. Maybe that's their bit. They can go negative, but like they don't gain back. They can't breathe or something like that. So they can't reset the maximums, but they can like drop down into the negative, and so they have like, because I need to figure out how to word it. Undead have more energy. Like they don't need to sleep as much. They're like, a zombie will walk for days with no problem whatsoever. So the undead should have more energy, but they don't. Either they can't take advantage of the energy as well. Maybe that's how I do it. Like they're physically weaker, or like I need to make it so that they have less maximum. But that doesn't quite make sense, because whatever the new maximum would be, like if I allow them to dip into negative, it's basically the same as expanding the maximum. I don't know. I'll figure it out. There's gonna be some meme there. Okay. Minimum energy represents the lowest current value. Current energy represents how much energy is able to be spent at any one time. Current energy can never be lower or higher than its relative minimum or maximum. When a character is told to spend energy, they reduce their current energy of that type by that amount. By the spending amount. When a character is spending a type of energy, they may spend any / all of that energy at a 2-to-1 ratio with another type. I was thinking of fucking Hobbit. Okay. Oh god, why does my feel nasally today? Fuck me. You interact with an item or object in the focus space. No, I think we did all this. We did all this. I need to stop bolding stuff. We need to move on. We got too much work to do. Full actions. Clash. So Clash was supposed to be the big block where you spend your whole turn blocking. This isn't like a reaction block. This is a I commit block. Oh, fuck, I got sidetracked. I was going to have energy, when it hits a minimum, apply certain debuffs. So, what were those going to be? Um... Energy, fatigue. So you run out of stamina. I think I'm gonna call it winded because that's pretty easy to, or maybe breathless. But I kind of like winded because also breath being a keyword to regenerate it. Breathless implies a different problem. Winded. If a character is ever winded, they when a character runs out of stamina, they they gain the winded debuff. The character's ever winded. Winded is a debuff that prevents you from. So my idea was, the original reason winded came about was I thought it'd be really sick if in fights. So it started as a, okay, let me back up. It started as a way to balance armor because I wanted armor to be very strong and very, very good at preventing damage because that's what armor's for. And I wanted to make health not be like a resource that you slowly lose over the course of a fight, but like a genuine, like, oh, I got hit, like I need to either like leave like this mission or like we need to like heal me, or I might be like fucked up for like a week or something. And making damage be way scarier. And so then I made armor very good to make that not be a problem. And so then the idea was, okay, we're gonna make armor really good. We're gonna do that. So now we need something to actually lose in combat, so you can't fight forever. And so the idea went to stamina. So we're gonna have stamina, and then it got split into the physical, the social, and the mental form for different reasons. And then it went, okay, so we have a stamina system. What happens when you run out of stamina, or like what makes you lose stamina? And so then we thought, well, there's going to be certain actions that lose stamina. And then the idea was armor should reduce how much stamina you have access to, because you're like lugging around all this armor. But I don't want to make like every action cost more stamina while you have armor on. That's going to be a bitch to balance. It might just be easier to reduce your minimum or maximum. And so then the idea became, and then I had the idea of that one, I think I played it last stream, but that one scene in the movie The King where they're like fighting in the mud and they're like super claustrophobic and they're like tiring the fuck out of themselves and they start drowning in their armor. And so then the idea became, well, what if armor raises your floor? So instead of like running out of stamina at 0, you run into stamina at I don't know, like 2 or 3, or it stacks depending on how much armor you have on you. And then what we can do is we can say, um, when you're out of stamina, you start gasping for air. Like you can't breathe, and so you're like in a whole world of hurt. And that way you can have like the cool cinematic shot where like the guy takes off his helmet, because when he takes off his helmet, he drops the maximum stamina a little bit, and so now he has some stamina left to pull, right? It's like going from, you'll have like 3 that you're not allowed to use. Now you're allowed to use 2, or now you're allowed to use 1 because your new floor is 2 or something like that. So I like the idea of it, you gasping for air. I like the idea of being able to die due to being winded for too long. So you give them an action that lets them be de-winded, where they can regain their stamina. But now you need a way to actually punish them while they're winded. So I think the way it works is, 1, you can't take reactions. I think the first thing is, when it is a debuff that is inflicted when a character runs out of stamina. A character that is winded, and then we're just do colon 1.1, cannot I need a word for doing an action. Committing to an action, completing an action, selecting, choosing. Cannot choose to do a reaction. And I need to make a new section here for implementing what a reaction actually means. We'll mark it yellow, as in it needs to get done, but it hasn't yet. Cannot choose to do a reaction. A character that is winded will pass out, or will become unconscious in... That needs to be another one as well. Thank you. I don't know why it was tabbing when I was hitting shift tab. That's so cool of you. Unconscious needs to be yellow as well. Character that is winded will become unconscious in... How many turns would that be? How do we do this? Maybe, maybe that's what we do. Maybe we say, we have the fatigue condition, which lowers your maximum stamina. Maybe what we say is, at the end of every turn, you must, spend... Oh, wait, fuck, hold on. We go back here. We're gonna go here. Hold on, we're cooking. We're gonna make the cost of resetting your maximum energy 1 energy of the relevant type. Spend 1 energy of the relevant type. This cannot be substituted. Because normally you can spend the 2-to-1 ratio for another type. That's what we'll do. This cannot be substituted, and then you add 1 fatigue of the stated type. Yep, that makes sense. And then we're gonna go back to here, and we're gonna say a character is winded, gains 1 fatigue at the beginning of their turn. So what this means is at the beginning of the round. Actually, let's specify the round. At the beginning of each round. So what this means is the basically, you don't want to ever drop to 0 stamina. As long as you have 1 left, you're going to want to rebreathe, only gain 1 fatigue, and then keep going down. If you truly run out of stamina, then you are fucked. If you actually hit 0, then you're gonna end up in a world of hurt where you cannot regain said stamina. Maybe I do allow them. Actually, let's do it this way. I'll let them substitute it, but I'll let them. We'll do it this way. If this energy is substituted, we'll put this here. Spend 1 energy of the relevant type. Add 1 fatigue of the stated type. If the energy spent to activate this action, activate. That's what it should be. Activate is the keyword here. We'll fix that in a second. Spent to activate this action is substituted. Gain or add 2 additional fatigue. So that way, because there could be a world theoretically where you hit 0 and you you like don't have any armor on, and it's like, okay, well now fuck me, I can never regain my stamina and I'm going to die soon, or like become unconscious soon. But what it should probably be is that you have to spend additional fatigue to get it back. So like if you're gasping for air as you're drowning in your armor, you can significantly reduce your energy but gain some. And so like, oh, I don't have an opportunity yet to take off my armor. That's fine. I'll like replenish it eventually. Yeah, I think that's okay. You're digging in your reserves. I think that's fine. And then we'll go back to keywords and we'll say, okay, if a character's winded, they'll gain 1 fatigue at the beginning of each round, so you're punished for actually dropping down to your minimum. And that way, if you're stuck at your minimum, where you can't, like, so, for example, if I actually do make this a breathe, like, narratively, because that's what I named the action, but if I actually do make that you are breathing and, like, recouping, then I can make it so that, like, if you're underwater, you cannot breathe, and if you're underwater, you lose stamina every turn because you are, like, you know, slowly suffocating. And so that way, if a character's underwater, that's how they die, is they just keep getting fatigued and they cannot spend the stamina required to actually push out and actually get out of the situation. Yeah, so I think that's what I'll do. Gains 1 fatigue at the beginning of each round. Is there going to be a third one? You cannot do reactions. That makes sense to me. You're out of it. You gain a fatigue at the beginning of each round because you're gasping for air and you're desperately trying to not fucking die. Maybe this is where I introduce adrenaline. Let me make a note, because I was thinking about playing out with adrenaline. Maybe introduce when winded. But if I do that, adrenaline was supposed to be like a wild card energy that you could access to temporarily. But if I do that, maybe I don't let you breathe while you have it with adrenaline. I don't know. I don't know how that would work, because I don't want it to undercut the point of the system, but I do want it to give you something to be able to push yourself out of a situation where you then could breathe. We'll see. We'll see how this works. But I think I'm okay with all of this. Reaction, unconscious. Oh, we need to implement those later, but I don't care about that right now. Let's make sure. We did breathe differently now. Spend 1 stamina of the relevant type. The stated. Add 1 fatigue of this to the stated type. If the energy spent to activate this action is substituted, add 2 additional fatigue. I don't need to capitalize that. Set your current energy of the stated type to its maximum. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, full actions. We were back here. Did we not actually even get into this? Did I get sidetracked that much? I think I got sidetracked that much. Fuck me. Clashing. Okay. That's right. I got interrupted to do the oh fuck, I'm still sidetracked. I was gonna implement the whenever you run out of energy, you get a status effect, and we only had done the physical one. So we need to do the social and the mental one. Social one, I think I'm gonna name it Broken. As an homage to Total War Warhammer. Because it's basically what it's gonna be. You're fucking emotionally dead, and you're done with life. So they're gonna name it Broken, and Broken is going to be Broken is a debuff that is inflicted on a character who that has run out of stamina. Debuff is a debuff. Broken is a debuff that is inflicted on a character that has run out of battery. A broken character colon. Let's keep these consistent. A winded character. A broken character. Let's see. If you're out of social stamina, or out of social energy, fuck, I need to keep those terms consistent. When you're out of social energy, you should... I think you should stop responding to people. So in my head, running out of social energy is like you're fucking... It's the like PTSD thing of like you're standing there, you're just zoned out. You're like looking at the floor. You're snapped. Like you're fucking... They're waving the hand in front of your face. So, a broken character cannot be receptive. I think that's going to be the first thing. You lose your inability. You cannot listen. You cannot engage with other characters. So that's gone. Oh shit, hold on. We need to go into here, and when we need to add a potential feat for rage effects, like a barbarian rage effect, and part of the rage effect is that you inflict you cannot be what's this called? What was this keyword called again? Receptive. You lose receptive. Part of it is that you cannot be receptive. That's what we do. That's how you get the barbarian who rages out and doesn't listen to anybody. Is there they just go crazy. That'd be so fun. I like that. Okay, so keywords, we're going up to broken. So you cannot be receptive if you're broken. That's part of it. Which is a big thing. Like you can't communicate with anybody is really big. I made stamina pretty punishing. I feel like I should make broken cannot be receptive. You can't fight anymore, obviously. You're debilitated as fuck. So what it should be is... Because it should be also... I'm making battery your morale stat as well. So whenever you run out of battery and you're broken, you should also retreat. Cannot activate any attack social or attack or social actions. I don't know what other ones you do. Trying to activate any attack or social actions. Cannot. How do we do this? Cannot activate any attack or social actions. So you can't attack anybody. You should also be forced, I think, to flee. Or maybe like curl up in a ball. I guess it depends on the character. I don't want to make a table for it. I want it to be relatively consistent, at least relatively consistent to the character. Rookie character cannot be receptive, cannot activate any attack or social actions. And then must retreat. I don't know how I'm going to word this. Retreat if able. Something like that. Okay, and then after broken, we have for mental. So this is you run at a concentration, so you cannot engage in any mental activities. You're fucking spent. I could call it spent. Nah, that's too generic. It needs to be something else. Tired? We could do tired. Tired. Tired is a debuff that is inflicted on a character that has run out of concentration. A concentrated character, or a tired character, cannot Oh, do I make it so they can't do any actions of their type? You can't do a social action. You can't do a mental action. You can't do a physical action. I might do that, actually. That makes... Because that way... Well... So if a guy is spent in that he is completely ran out of... So let's go to our most extreme, right? Somebody's drowning. Let's imagine the dungeon's flooded and they're in, 10 feet of water. And they have to swim to the exit, but they are wiped. And they run out of stamina and they become winded. Well, they can't breathe underwater. So the only option is for them to burn their other energy sources at a greater rate in order to get out. If you do that, is there any issue with this? I'm blanking. What was I thinking about? Is there any issue with Monster Tree Fable? Oh, with setting them to they can't do the physical thing. Yeah, I think I have to let them do them because if you can't do a physical action like swimming, then you can't. Once you run out of it, you're actually just fucked, and you can't even like burn other energy to get there. Which I feel like you should be able to do, even if you're taking fatigue every turn, and you'll pass out when you run out of fatigue, or when you're fully fatigued, which should probably be a thing I add at some point, where like if you're fully fatigued in any category, you become unconscious. I also wonder if I should add a fatigue that is across the board versus a fatigue that's only in a particular. So maybe you have like one fatigue that's like, oh, you're only physically fatigued versus having a fatigue that affects everything. It'd probably be something like oxygen deprivation. That's what it would probably be. Um, okay. So yeah, let's do. I like the idea of auctionless actually being a thing because then running out makes sense for it to be 0. Um, if you're at a social though, you shouldn't go unconscious. You should only go unconscious if you have fully lost physical stamina. Um, and then you can make it so that when you run out of social or when you run out of mental, then you when you run out of social mental, you get a different debuff, and then if you have to like burn fatigue through mental or social, then it gets applied to something else, and so you just keep going down until eventually you run out of physical stamina. So like your full oxygen death is you've lost at least stamina, but most likely you've burned through the fatigue of the other categories um, until you've got there. I think I'm okay with that. Um, a broken character cannot be receptive, cannot attack, cannot activate any attack or social actions, and must retreat available. That makes sense. And then we were back down to tired. A tired character cannot um, cannot activate mental actions. Tired character cannot what else does it do? It's got to do something else. You're tired, you're like zoned out, you're like out of it. I think a concert can also not do reactions. I think that's cannot activate a reaction. Yeah, because like a broken character who has no social stamina should absolutely still be able to do reactions because you're like desperately running to the exit. So like that makes sense. Um, but like a tired character is like they can't focus, they can't do any of that shit. There's no registering anything like that. So yeah, I think that makes sense. You can activate mental actions, you can activate a reaction. Um, do you gain fatigue like you do with the other? I haven't actually done this yet. Do they also gain fatigue? Battery shouldn't gain fatigue because it's just there's your morale stat in a way. So that doesn't make sense for you to keep fatiguing morale because fatigue is supposed to be gained while you're winded because you're like running out of oxygen. Um, So I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with... Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. I think Winded being the worst one is totally valid. Because stamina is pretty important in terms of like physically, and a lot of your actions are going to require it, so it's more likely to be consumed. And then concentration is pretty important because a lot of your mental stats will burn concentration. So I'm okay with concentration not being as harsh because there's a basically all your social and all your mental skills use concentration. I'm okay with battery not being as harsh because it's mostly there as a buffer for your other two. And then I'm okay with physical being the worst because it's supposed to indicate that you were literally like depriving yourself of oxygen, and also it's going to be you're going to always be able to burn the others at a 2-to-1 ratio. So it's not like if you truly hit zero stamina, either something is like winded you and you were fucked up, or which I might actually implement. I was thinking about this, about making it so that whenever you take damage, you also lose that much stamina because you get like the shit kicked out of you. Your energy's spent. Um, so that would work as a way of like, oh fuck, the wind got knocked out of me. A blade just got slipped between my ribs. I'm like gasping for air now, and so having ways like that, I think that's a good. I think that's a good way to do that. And then it also makes oxygen death make sense, right? Um, and then you could have something like, when you, I don't know exactly how it would work yet, but there's something along those lines. I think that's a good idea. So I think having tired be not as severe. I mean, not being able to react is pretty severe. Like you're in for a world of hurt. Um, and I also like the idea of not being able to activate mental actions. I think all that's good. Um, Maybe you remove cannot activate a reaction from winded. Um, or make it lesser, like you get penalties when you're reacting. I'm gonna mark uncertain things as I don't know, purple. Oh, that is way too dark to be red. Oh, legible. Let's do this. That's a lighter purple. There we go. Okay, so orange is unimplemented and not implementing pre playtest. Yellow is needs to be implemented. Purple is possible change. Okay. All right, we'll go back to combat. We finally finished this. We can now get to full actions. Okay. Clash is supposed to be your full turn block, so it's got to be better than normal block, but it also can't be insanely strong. I mean, a full turn dismissal is pretty good. The first question I have, because I'm gonna have to rework it because whatever's in there is it's wrong at this point. If you do a full action block, should you be guaranteed the block? And I feel like the answer is yes. In some systems, that could be super abusable, right? Your tank just sits there and fucking takes beating after beating while everybody else actually kills the boss because the guy has him taunted through to some ability and, it cheeses every combat. But I feel like what's going to make this better is that since they have stamina systems, I feel like I just make the block cost more and more stamina, and then it's not an infinite, and then it's not a problem. So what we'll say is locked, state the combatant, the predicted... Oh yeah, so that was another idea, was that you could predict what attack was going to hit you, and if you did, you got a bonus to the roll. So like if they're doing like I'm gonna have some weapons that like you have to tell them that you're swinging with this weapon ahead of time. So like if they're like a big club is getting wielded overhead and it's about to come crashing down on you, then I choose to block or clash, and I'm gonna declare what I think you're gonna try to do to me, and then we're gonna try to block this. So I like this. I think state the combatant. Let's colon this so they don't have to state all of them. State the combatant, the predicted weapon profile, and the predicted hit location. It is a trap. I like the idea of it being a trap so that you don't do anything until it happens. When an attack made by the stated combatant hits you, no, this needs to say there's immediately after the stated combatant's attack was flipped. It has to be a flipped. It has to be an attack. Then you're going to maybe on traps. On traps, they need a flip trigger, and the flip trigger is the stated combatant is attacking you. Or do I let? No, I think I'm gonna make a distinction here. I like the idea of clash being I'm going to block this attack or block this person. And I like the idea of having an action called like brace or something, which is just you putting your arms up in front of your face and just like, if you're getting the shit kicked out of you by like 4 people, you're not actually like clashing. You're just bracing for a beatdown. So I like the idea of clash only being the stated combatant and then brace being not as good, but letting you I'm just hoping to God I don't die here kind of moment. The stated combatant is attacking you. And then what you're going to do is instead, or no, we already know this is replacing a normal reaction, so we don't have to specify that. We'll instead say oppose the attack roll with a block. The block or the attack always hits your weapon instead. And it's deflect. Oppose the attack roll with a deflect. The attack always hits your weapon instead. Roll spend stamina equal to the difference between your rolls, or spend stamina equal to, because it's not just the difference, it's not an absolute value. I want it to be only if you spent more strength than they attacked with. So it needs to be, because the stamina normally is, or deflecting normally with it's normally a dexterity check. That's right, I changed that. So instead it needs to be a strength check. We'll say, let's reword this instead. The attack hits your weapon. Roll a strength check. And subtract their hit by the result. Spend the remaining result. Oh wait, how did I word this over here? If their predicted locations are correct, was a -1 tier dex check and subtract their result from the result from their roll. That's what you say. And subtract the result from their roll. And then you spend stamina. So I'm trying to think of like the crazy examples, right? Like if you have if somebody's like standing in front of a dragon and the dragon jumps on them and they go to clash it, what should occur here? And I feel like um it's a different vibe than what I'm going for like the dragon to lift their hand up and then your knight is like 20 feet down in a crater, like sword still above their head. I feel like instead it should be uh spend you gotta spend something to actually do this action. You have to spend some flat resource every time. I'm thinking concentration. So uh there is not a cost. Okay, it's underneath focus normally. Okay. Cost. Let's say 2 concentration. 3? You're guaranteeing to at least clash with the attack. That should be pretty good. Let's go 3 for now. The attack hits your weapon. Roll a strength check and subtract the result from their roll. Spend the remaining spend the difference. Basically, I'm thinking that you buffer however much damage you're about to take by how much stamina you have. So if you only are going to get hit by a little bit now, then you reduce that much stamina because you're clashing against it. But if you're about to get dragon stomped, then you spend all your remaining stamina, and then you're fucking pummeled by the rest of the damage. Roll a strength check and subtract the result from their roll. Spend stamina equal to the remaining damage. That hits your weapon. You roll a strength check and subtract the result from their roll. You spend, or how am I going to word this? Your weapon gains is it overrun? Overrun original location. Spend stamina equal to the remaining damage. If any, if there is still, do I make it unsubstitutable? No, I can make it substitutable. If there is still remaining damage, take that much. Take all remaining damage, if applicable. Yeah, something like that. Okay, focus is on the stated combatant. Costs 3 concentration. It is a block group. That makes sense. You lock in that stuff. That makes sense. It is a trap. Yep, all that checks out. Snap reaction. I like the idea of this action. I think it has to be a feat. I don't think I can make this a normal action because it is just too fucking strong. It is so ungodly strong. So the original idea was, what if we had that cool showdown moment where both guys have a weapon ready, and like you're waiting, you're standing there, you're striked, you're poised to strike. You just need the smallest movement, and you're about to launch out your weapon, right? And then they are about to swing, and then you cut them off at the pass, and you fucking hack them in two. Great, cool. No issue with that. The problem is that the way I implemented it is basically that when the chosen opponent reveals their action, you get to just automatically go ahead of them, and then you'll spend stamina equal to the difference in your speeds. But the issue with this is that you shouldn't be able to do that. Like if there's an enemy that's going very, very, very fast and you want to try to beat them out, that should not be a guarantee. That's a problem if that's a guarantee. Even if you spend a fuck ton of stamina, that's a problem if it's a guarantee. I don't like that. So it should not be. I think instead it's probably gonna have to be. You're probably gonna have to split it up into feats that modify what your speed value is in comparison to your opponent, or like if you have a speed difference of, or if you're the speed difference between when the opponent reveals their action and you reveal your action, you're able to jump in line on their attack by spending extra concentration or something. That's probably what it's going to have to be. But I'm not making this a universal action to let you do this. So we're gonna go down here, re-implement or split this up into like 4 feats. Okay. Clash, yep. Strike. Focus, the stated combatant. Its attack, you focus stating combatant. You state the target, the weapon profile, and the intended hit location. Let's say target and a target hit and a hit location on the target. Perform an attack with the selected weapon profile against the stated target against the stated target against the target by rolling a dexterity check. If it scores greater than 0, deal damage equal to the weapon's durability to the declared location. So this works differently now. It should instead do whenever you hit, you need to roll the hit roll. Perform an attack with a selected weapon profile against the stated target by rolling a dexterity check. If it scored, or if it hits, roll a strength hit roll at the location. If it hits, roll a strength hit roll at the strength wound roll. Ooh, do we have the issue? I think we might have the issue. One of the issues that I feel like a lot of TTRPGs have is that you roll it to hit and then you roll a damage roll, and there's not really a connection between the two. Maybe whenever you roll a wound roll, you add how well you hit to the thing. Perform an attack with the electron weapon roll against the stated target by rolling a dexterity check. If it hits, roll a strength wound roll at the stated location. I mean, yeah, I think maybe you just add your success level of the attack to the damage, and then it's maybe all you do. And then all I have to do is just make sure that the armor numbers are really tightly balanced. Because as long as the armor numbers are good, or maybe I mean, we were talking about making it so that, like, how well you hit dictates what armor you bypass. Maybe that's what it does, is it dictates what armor you bypass, and then, like, what hit, where you've actually hit inside the hit location. And then the strength just dictates how much damage you deal to that location. So if you're really, really high in dex, then you bypass, like, one, maybe a second piece of armor, and so then you're able to get a crazy hit in on, like, a particular weak point with strength. Even if you don't do as much damage, you've still, like, cut somebody pretty hard. I was actually thinking about this. I wonder if... So currently I've been running with weapon durability is the damage number, right? So the more durable or better the weapon material, the more damage it's going to deal. But I wonder if I instead change it so that you... How would I word it? Each weapon has a damage number and a durability number, maybe? Something like this. The idea might be that, like, the strength just dictates how much more armor you can bypass. So if you have enough strength, then you can fucking get in really hard on it. And then you have a damage number, and then you subtract out the armor, and then that's how far you hit. But I might just have to... We'll see. If it hits, roll a strength wound, roll at the standard location. Perform an attack with a selected weapon profile against the stated target by rolling a dexterity check. How about this? Give me like 5 minutes. I'm gonna go get some food real quick and think about how I want to do this, and then I'll come back. So I have not ate today, so I'm gonna do something real quick. Maybe. I am back now, but I'm wolfing down food, and I don't want to eat into the mic. So give me 1 second. Um, fuck. Do I really just leave this stream up for like 5-10 minutes of me doing fucking nothing while I'm eating? I guess that's why people watch videos, huh? I really don't want to watch anything right now. I have the AFK text of everything. Good job, dumbass. How about this? Let's. Let's do that, and then we'll go to here. And we'll do this. Okay, I think strike is basically correct. I just need to figure out how I'm going to word it. And I think I will add how well you hit to it. So when you get hit, it's going to be fucking vicious. So I think how well you hit should affect this. Or maybe how well you hit just bypasses how many layers of armor, and then you roll strength, and that dictates how much damage you do. But if I do that, I'm probably just going to front load a lot of the damage so that if you would hit something without armor, it fucking wrecks it, regardless of really how much strength you put into it, unless it's like a strength heavy weapon. Or you like don't do anything because you smacked up against armor. Because like if you stab through flesh with a sword, you're destroying that person. But if you do it against like armor, you might not even fucking get very far. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna do that. But I think all three of these actions are basically correct. I'm probably gonna add more. Let's see. I'm wondering if I should just end stream for a little bit, reset, play something, eat some food, and then come back in a few hours. Because I do want to work more on this today. It's just more tiring to work on it when you're speaking, because I have to explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I feel weird about the silence. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna mentally reset. I'm probably gonna work on this later tonight at maybe we'll say, I don't know, in a few hours. And then if I'm up to it again, I'll start streaming it again. Otherwise, I'm just gonna work on it a bit, and then I will stream tomorrow. Either way, today, tomorrow, you'll get a stream. And we're gonna keep working on this. I think once I get this down, I think we go back to the weapon list now that I have a much better understanding of how the combat's gonna work. Double check through all those weapon traits. Probably add some more. I really want to make the weapons feel unique and feel like the category they exist in, like how an axe feels to swing, how a sword feels to swing, etc. And then once I get those traits down, then I make the I'll go through the list of that massive list of feats I have to implement, and I will start fucking with those. Run probably a combat sim tomorrow to kind of test out how the combat looks at this point and see how it feels to play, so that I have at least on my end tested it a few times. And then if that goes fairly well, then then Tuesday through Wednesday will be numbers balancing and some content add. I'll make the races a little bit interesting. I'll figure out how much XP you should have at start, and then we'll kind of go from there. Is there anything else? I don't think so. I'll see you guys either in a few hours or tomorrow. If I do stream tomorrow, unless I'm fucking stupid and I stay up late, it'll probably be sometime around 10 to noon. We'll see. But, alright.